welcome back for another Tool Time Tuesday. I'm Melissa Muir. In this video I want to talk a little bit about sweat soldering. I've had quite a few different questions and I figured I would show the two main ways that I use sweat soldering in my own pieces. Let's check it out now. So here I have two very different types of pieces. Here I've got a piece of copper and brass, but it works with sterling and copper, or sterling and fine silver, whichever you want to use. It works the same. I have two flat pieces and then I have two formed pieces. So I'm going to show you how I do this with the formed pieces. And you could do this the same way as if you're working with flat pieces as well. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to flux my pieces up. Now in this case I'm using a paste flux, but you can use a liquid as well. The main thing that you want to do here is make sure everything is nice and clean. So I'm going to flux both sides of my pieces. Flip this over here just a sec. Okay, so everything is nice and fluxed. In this case, I want to keep this little guy upside down because what I'm going to do is place a little piece of solder right there on the back of him and melt it into place. And what that's going to allow me to do is make sure that it's nice and secure in the right place, because I only have just a very small contact point when it goes from the little to that large piece right there. And I think I'm going to add an extra little piece as well, just for good measure on this particular little guy. Going to move the bigger butterfly out of the way just a little bit. In this case, I'm just using a butane torch. This is just a Jumbo Max butane. Going to get this ignited. Very gently, I'm just going to come in, and I want to do this very, very gently because see what happens is it will bubble out of place, and I don't want that. So wait for everything to kind of dry, and once it dries, then I can really come in here and concentrate some heat. And I like to just kind of come in, move away, come in, move away. I don't like to overheat my pieces, and that's going to be extremely important for silver as well. Okay, so you saw that it melted into just a small pool. Now you'll notice that I have quite a bit of oxidation here as well. And that's going to happen, and I'm just going to paste a little bit more flux on here. Because it's hot, it is going to kind of evaporate on me really fast there. Let's bring our large piece back into place. Turn this little guy over, and I want to place this guy back down. Now, if you really wanted to, you could take and pickle that little guy and make him really clean again. But I am going to do this just for time's sake on our video. Okay, once I get him into position and I like where he's at, see if we can get him over just a smidge. There we go. Now he's good. So now that I've got him into position, again, I'm going to heat up my torch, and this time I'm going to kind of concentrate that flame kind of underneath, but paying attention mostly on the back plate because the solder is already here on the top and I want to draw it to that back. So get my torch going again. Once again, just kind of come in, warm things up gently because I don't want things to move out of place. And I'm going to heat this up. Again, I'm just going to kind of concentrate underneath that little butterfly. Okay, I might even just come underneath that big butterfly here. Now, copper can go red, and that's not a bad thing. And we are still moving here, so I know we are not yet attached. And what I'm doing, okay, and that I did just see. There was a little flicker of solder that I just saw right around the rim of my butterfly. But I don't know, we still have some movement here, so I'm not too thrilled with that. Let's see if we can get him down. Now I'm using hard solder, and you can use whatever you'd like. Okay, I think we've got this guy. We still might not. Nope, still don't have him. I'm going to lift him up down here underneath. When you are working with a formed piece, it is definitely going to be trickier, especially since I have not only a formed piece, but also a textured piece. No, he's still not down. Or he is, and he's just, there we go. Okay, I think we've got him. I saw that go, but it might not have yet. It might just have too much fire scale on him at this point to be secure, or it might just already be done, and the only way to tell is to quench this, pickle it, and see what happens. All right, so now I've just pulled him out of the quench, and if I attempt to lift up the wing, it is not moving. So I am very, very confident that we actually have him soldered down. So you saw it took a little bit, and that the effort was because, one, my back plate is so textured, and two, there's also a form to it. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of effort, and sometimes you might have to do this a couple of times and add a little bit more solder. So you have to kind of play with that, but that is definitely a more tricky piece. So let's look at our other piece that we had. In this case, I have just a very, very simple shape because I figured it would be really easy to show you. So I have a brass diamond and then a little copper disc. So again, I am going to flux this up, and on the little brass piece that I have here, there we go, I am going to flux both sides. Now, instead of melting my solder down, what I'm going to do in this case is I'm actually going to take my piece of solder and place it onto my circle or my disc, and then I'm going to take my little brass piece and lay him on top of that. Now this is going to help me in a couple of ways because there is now a little bit of height in this, and I'm actually going to change the direction of the camera so that you can see this just a little bit better. And what's going to happen is as I heat this, that little diamond is going to drop down. So let me pull you into a different direction here. Okay, so you should be able to see this height that's in here, and what's going to happen is we're going to heat it up and it'll drop, and that's what we want to see. So again, I'm going to very, very gently just bring my torch into this. I'm watching as that kind of bubbles up on me. We want to be very careful not to bubble our solder out of place. So now I'm going to kind of concentrate my torch, not necessarily on that diamond, but around the back plate of the copper. And the torch, the heat will definitely hit that little diamond, but it's not going to be directed on it. So now we see that it started to collapse. I'm going to then use my pick to lay it down even more. And there we go, we have our piece down. And I actually, in this case, saw my solder as it flowed around the outside piece. So we know we are good there. So I'm going to take this and quench this. And there's our piece. So now, in both of these cases, I'm going to place these into the pickle. The brass is going to copper plate, and that's a whole other video all by itself. But it is easy enough to remove. However, I'm going to take these, put these now into the pickle, and at that point, then I can really test to make certain that that solder is good and I have a very good joint. And that's kind of the two methods that I use. So I hope that helps you a little bit. You saw that there was a little bit of difficulty in doing that formed piece. And again, that's just going to be kind of a trial and error type of thing. So try it out, see what you think. Those are the two general methods of sweat soldering, and I hope that helps. And let me know if you have more questions, and I'll see you guys next time.